Hey guys, Bowie here, and this is 5 things I had to learn to get to Immortal. These obviously change from person to person. You might be 2k and know all of this, or you might be 6k and know none of this just because you're incredibly talented at a game. All I'm saying is, this helped me and might help you too. The first thing we're going to talk about is you alone does not decide whether a fight is over or not, and if you do, and your team agrees with you, you should try your best to disengage with everyone. So I'm somewhat of a perfectionist. When a smoke is not successful, or when a fight seems to be really bad, I had the habit of just TPing to the complete opposite side of the map and split push. And that can be devastating in game losing. In the Zai game, they take the Wraith King down top, and a fight starts bottom. But it starts with Lion Dead as well. Keep watching the fights, and I know it can get boring, but believe me, watch how Radiant fights. Pretty good toss into the Avalanche, but that's not what matters actually. Zai, he just keeps fighting and using his mana non-stop, and at this stage, he's already very low in mana. His Soul Ring is on cooldown, the Wraith King respawns, Sniper is still top, and he keeps on fighting and he dies. Terrible fight, right? Why would Zai, an 8,000 MMR player, do that? Zai should have disengaged and finished his Blink Dagger. And this situation is kinda tricky, because Zai is position 3, he has 2 greedy cores playing Sniper and Void, so his Blink Dagger is obviously going to be less important to an extent than in maybe another game, but that's not what we are talking about here. Since Zai did not disengage randomly by himself during the fight, not only he's the only hero that died, the entirety of Dire TP bottom, and now they're stuck there. There's not enough farm for everyone or meaningful objectives for them to acquire in the bottom side of the map, meaning the global net gain is clearly on Zai's team, but you might still not believe me. So let's check another fight that starts with one of the subsequent things we will talk about. Zai forces 2 heroes to be bottom to then TP top and go at the Wraith King. So even if the heroes bottom did not TP to be bottom, their physical presence top will be delayed, since they have to each manually TP to either the Shrine or the tier 2 top. And this fight works out because Radiant rushes top as it begins, but watch again how Zai fights. Someone that is afraid or worried about their Blink Dagger would be like, sure, okay, we killed the Wraith King, bye. Instead, he runs at the Dire, he tosses the Ancient Apparition back, and the reason for Zai's cockiness comes from the fact that we saw the heroes bottom, so he knew that he would be late to the party, whilst understanding that he can't just leave because he's 70 gold away from the Blink Dagger. In fact, since he keeps finding ways to be around his allies to help them either run away safely or kill people, he can follow up on these 2 Dire heroes, killing both the Mirana and the Kunkka in the end. What if he had a TP there and just gets out? He finishes Blink Dagger, yay, but it's quite possible that Kunkka plus Mirana could kill 1 or maybe 2 extra heroes there and they would also live. So sometimes, and you know, this is easy because Zai is playing position 3 here, so in this case, you're always looking more on the global scale of things than your own. But even as a carry, even as a position 2, you should try and just try and play more with your team, if that makes any sense. The second thing we're going to talk about, obviously we already had a spoiler, is using TP scrolls better. This is another subject that could have its own 40-minute video, but we'll try to condense this enough. What is a bad teleport scroll? In my opinion, and for the sake of simplicity, I will call a bad TP one that doesn't involve aiding in a fight that is already happening, or a TP that was used before confirming if another enemy used the TP in return for yours. Dota is all about traits. That Zai play we talked about, for instance, is an okay example of this. Dire did not TP to get to bottom because they are great players, but physically all of these TPs happening top makes Zai's TP good enough to be top, and that's because 1, his TP was not scouted because there were no creeps close to the tower that he TP'd to, and 2, he pushed the wave enough and had vision of those heroes there to be sure that his TP, you know, was going to be successful. If you don't play the map this way, what you're saying to the rest of your team, regardless of you being a support or carry, is that for the next 80 seconds you don't give a fuck about what happens or what fight is going to occur. And sometimes that's okay. Some heroes can't or should not fight until a certain point in the game. The problem is that most lower MMR players have a very narrow idea of what that means. Zai literally farmed his Blink by fighting and playing the map well, so for instance, lack of Blink Dagger shouldn't be a reason for not fighting necessarily. Let's watch the cookie cutter example of what I mean. Arteezy is pushing bottom, he has no intentions of fighting at the moment, after all he's 0-4, but he has to push a wave, so that someone TPs to that wave so that he can do the same thing somewhere else and buy time for his power spikes. That's exactly what he does, but note how he doesn't TP as soon as the creep's hitting the tower. He has to be sure someone TP'd there, or else he might just be going into a trap. What happens is that Wind Ranger TPs bottom, but she's smoked, and that's why Arthur doesn't see her immediately. Quap ends up biting the bullet, and after fighting 3 heroes from Dire, he can finally and safely TP somewhere else. This is why and how Arthur and the best carries in the world get away with so much farming. Not only understanding how to use TPs correctly, but positioning yourself and having the foresight to be at the right place at the right time. You know, he played this scenario 9,000 times. Anyways, this one is hard to showcase from high MMR games because in general, high MMR players will not take bad fights or randomly decide to fight in wrong places. But I can assure you, without a doubt, that every game in my journey to Immortal had at least one, but usually way more than one situation where I felt forced to fight and do stuff when things were not ready or aligned, at least for me. In this game, every player on my team was higher MMR. This was probably one of the highest MMR games I played in my life, and even though I was really close to Blink Dagger, they decided to smoke, and obviously the Divine 7 player here can't really say anything. Old Bowie would probably keep hitting creeps and try to get into the fight as I farmed my Blink and the courier was bringing it. To me, that was the optimal play, but playing Dota is all about combining real-life, real-time situations with whatever you feel is also right. As you can see, the smoke's a disaster. Pugna blasts the hell out of my ass, but what happens if I'm not there? That's really what you have to consider at all times. Even when you know something is awful, not being there makes it 5 times more awful to you and your team. If they die without me there, raiding gets Roshan, we probably lose the game. Instead, we retreat, I get dagger ready, Pugna blasts my ass some more, but now we can take the fight, and with 2 dead supports, we can finally go to Roshan. The fourth thing we have to talk about is never forget about tier 1 towers. This is by far, in my opinion, the reason for lost games in any MMR. People forget about the importance of getting objectives as fight happens. You know, you get into those 30, 40-minute games where there's tier 1 towers up. That's like, that's a crime. The most simple way to describe high-level Dota is push 1 wave, force 1 player to defend that wave with a TP, be somewhere else, kill people, take their tower. I don't think you can get any simpler than that, but even when people do all of that, they can just forget about taking the towers, and when you don't do that, everything in the game is harder to do. We can spend days talking about why towers are important, but look at Arteezy. He literally fed trying to push bottom once. He respawns, and what does he do? He does the exact same thing. Obviously, he's not dumb. There's vision of other heroes in the map, and because of that vision, Wind Ranger dies bottom, since they have the confidence to take that fight. And what's the immediate gut reaction of Arthur? He runs to the lane, he pushes the wave and the tower. Sometimes you're half HP, sometimes you're 20 gold away from Blink Dagger, and you might be scared of pushing, but you have to remember that, the end game is always the ancient, and to get there, you have to push towers. And, obviously, have clear vision and knowledge of where everyone is, but that's really the problem. A lot of the times we're just let the fear and our anxiety take the best of us, and we don't really analyze the situation well. And if you're actually thinking about analyzing the situation, you're already wrong. You have to, when you're going to the tower, you already have to know that it's okay to go to the tower. But I digress. Dota is hard. And the fifth thing we have to talk about is learn how to pick better. Just pick better, guys. This one is actually really, really hard because, picking better sometimes also means learning new heroes. For instance, 2 heroes I sucked at that I had to learn and get better during my journey were Troll and Juggernaut. According to my coach, the lack of having those 2 heroes in my hero pool was hurting me really, really bad. And, there were more heroes that could have helped me. Morphling, for instance, is an incredibly strong last pick against the likes of Lifestealer. Just name a lot of heroes there. But that's one I did not fail was worth my time, since, Morphling takes so long to learn. Take that Zai game we talked about. You cannot expect to 8th pick a sniper and don't get countered with the last pick. The answer was a Kunkka here. This guy is a sniper spammer though, and he might feel and know how to play around the hero, but if you're not a spammer of a tinker, of an alchemist, of a sniper, of a void, those heroes that are not really, even when a hero is very popular, like Sven, you need to understand how this hero works and when you can pick it or not, or if there was a better pick. Because people, and I say people because I myself wasn't, still am pretty average at picking. But having a visualization of how fast the enemy heroes push, how deadly their lane is, and in general, what are the best heroes to play in this meta. Why would you pick Safe Lane Medusa or Drow in any game when you have heroes like Sven and Wraith King that are incredibly powerful, incredibly versatile, they can farm in any situation, they can fight against most lanes, they scale well. So if you're just going for whatever pick you think is cool or whatever pick you just like, you're gonna have a bad time getting to MMR unless all the heroes that you like are very popular today. But maybe in 3 months that's gonna be completely different. Guys, thank you very much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. As always, if you want to make this channel a little bit more sustainable, check my Patreon rewards. It really helps me. If you want to see me learning new heroes, and I know you're like, Bowie, yesterday was Invoker week, what the hell? I know, it's just that, it's already Thursday, and I think it's Friday today. Yeah, and it didn't feel like a real week. So since that was an introduction video anyways, I'm considering starting the Invoker week on Monday, and I just wanted to drop this video today. So yeah, thanks for watching. You guys are awesome. Follow me on the social medias, and have a good one. Bye.